Can you quite believe the response to this tournament?
I think we can, and that's the great thing, because it's what everyone hoped for. And again, you know, the teams have played their part, the players have played their part, you know, right from the start, from before the tournament. They've been allowed to be themselves, to allow those personalities to really shine through. And I think that's what fans, not just the ones who've been lucky enough to be in the venues, but fans, you know, here in New Zealand and around the world have really kind of gotten behind. And, you know, that's about inspiring, you know, kids in particular, boys and girls, to want to watch rugby, play rugby, be involved in the sport.
How do you ensure this tournament, this moment, becomes a bit of a launching pad for the women's game going forward? How do you build off the momentum of this tournament going forward?
A lot of work, again, a lot of investment, a lot of energy. A lot of that's in place, and you know, we're ready for that next phase. This is the last dance of this tournament, but that's just the end of this chapter. You know, we've obviously only got 3 years to the next Women's Rugby World Cup in England in 2025. We moved to 16 teams, so there's a lot more work to do to keep the incredible competitiveness of this tournament as we go forward and expand. We're bringing on stream a really hotly anticipated Women's 15s annual tournament called WXV next year. Would have been this year. We've obviously shifted everything by a year. 18 teams, 3 divisions of 6, lots of high performance investment behind the teams in that competition. So it's all about this incredible platform and the joy and the brilliance of these teams just now continuing to build towards 25 and beyond, you know. And how can we make sure the women's game is getting the focus it deserves and needs? And again, we see this as an incredible growth driver for the sport. And it's not just about the fact that this is inspiring a lot of young girls to play rugby. This is inspiring a lot of young boys to play rugby.
Does it need more investment from World Rugby into the women's game to allow it to continue to shine?
Absolutely. It needs more investment from World Rugby, and we're really focused on that. And you know, there's opportunities. It needs more investment and encouragement from us to have our member unions, the federations invest. But it's really important, Ollie, that we all work together in that. You know, they're understandably at the moment, in terms of the depth of elite players in the women's game, that's a much shallower pool than it would be in the men's game. Let's build that responsibly and sustainably, and make sure that the infrastructure and you know, what we need is in place to provide those athletes with opportunity, many of whom have got to hold down full-time jobs while they're trying to bring more and more competitions on stream. So there's such a great opportunity to use the platform that not just this tournament but the game is creating for the women's game to go well beyond where men's rugby is.
New Zealand Rugby spoke last week about their desire to host a women's British and Irish Lions tour here eventually. Is that something World Rugby would support, and do you see that being a viable tour going forward? Absolutely,
yeah. We've had some good conversations with the British and Irish Lions. You know, they've got an absolute understandable desire to bring the women's Lions, you know, to reality, and it's been talked about for a while, and it's about probably where and how quickly that can start to happen. So yeah, absolutely support that. What we've got to be careful of in the women's game as we start to grow is that we don't just replicate what we've done in the men's game, and I mean that in terms of challenges of calendar. I mean that in terms of, let's make sure that we've got a women's game that's vibrant beyond just the established nations in the men's game. And we're looking, you know, all the way through to a Women's Rugby World Cup in the USA in 2033, and I think that, as crazy as it sounds, that's the horizon that we're working towards in terms of, you know, building the women's game. And we've known for a long time, you know, well pre-COVID, that the women's game is the biggest single opportunity for the growth of our sport and for the growth of sport more broadly. And what we really need and have needed is really huge moments like this to showcase that and push everyone on that journey.